Want to get cheat sheets, audiobooks, lessons, apps, and much more every month for free? Just click the link in the description to get your free language gifts of the month.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to English Topics. My name is Alisha, and today I'm joined in the studio by...
I'm Davey.
Welcome, Davey, and thanks for joining us. So today our topic is going to be about how to use movies and music and TV shows to improve your English. So we're both going to share from our own personal experiences, but maybe we're going to share a few things we haven't done, I suppose, but perhaps could help you. I don't know, that's kind of a weird thing to say. Anyway, do you want to start?
Sure.
All right, what's a way to improve English with music, TV, movies?
All right.
Any ideas?
Yes, I do have some ideas. My first recommendation is to use subtitles in English as early as possible. This isn't always very easy if you're just starting out learning English. If you're starting out learning English and you're watching movies in English, you're probably watching in subtitles of your own language. But as soon as you're comfortable reading in English, and when you're comfortable getting most of what you're listening to in English, I think switching to subtitles in English is really important. Because I think when people are watching movies and television shows in English, they think that it's really going to improve their listening more than anything else. But I think you can improve other skills too, not only your listening. And so if you switch to subtitles in English, you're also going to improve your reading. You'll learn to read faster. You'll match the spellings of English words with how they sound. And that will really help improve both skills a lot more quickly. And it'll help you understand what's going on screen.
Yeah, actually, I really do agree with that. But interestingly enough, I put maybe the first step to what you just described. That was one of mine. So I said, listen to movies in your target language with your native language subtitles on. So initially, I was thinking of this as an initial tip. So to get used to listening to your target language, but then being able to familiarize yourself with your native language through using subtitles. But then after you get comfortable with that, maybe you watch the same movie a few times, for example, you get familiar with the story, with the things that the characters say, then you can switch to using subtitles and familiarize yourself with the story in a whole new way. So that can be a really fun way, I think, to practice both your listening and your reading skills.
I totally agree.
And I suppose you could even read the subtitles out loud along with the characters too.
We're getting ahead of ourselves.
Oh my!
That brings me to, you should have gone first.
Uh-oh.
But that brings me partly to my second tip, which is shadowing. So you can do this not only with movies and television, but with music as well. Basically just trying to repeat what you hear or what you're reading as you're listening to it on the screen very immediately after you hear it. And so, for example, if you hear a song lyric or a phrase in the movie or TV show, immediately after you hear it, try and repeat it back. And that will help kind of improve your speaking, especially regarding pronunciation and how you connect different words together. Yes.
Yep, I had the same one. I had the same point about music. Mine in particular was memorize song lyrics and sing along. So I think that gives you an extra sort of way to study if you actually have to read the song lyrics and try to remember them and repeat them back, sometimes even without the accompaniment of the artist that you're listening to. That can be a good way to practice trying to create or trying to just, repeat something without having necessarily like the audio prompt. But one point, and I was thinking about this as I was writing this card too, it is a little bit tricky. Like there is something a little bit different about music, and I think this differs from TV shows and movies.
How so?
That sometimes, one, music doesn't always use perfect grammar.
That's true.
One. And two, sometimes artists will kind of stretch sounds, or artists will kind of change sounds or change emphasis to make the words that they're using match the beat or the rhythm of their song. So sometimes it's not always the best way to practice your target language. And one more point, if I can add to that, is that frankly, a lot of popular music, there's lots of rude words you have to be really careful about. And there's also just kind of nonsense too. So you can't expect everything that you hear in music to be exactly the way that people speak. But in general, yeah, I think
that's exactly right.
In terms of just getting familiar with a more natural rhythm, it can be a really good tool to use.
I completely agree.
Yeah. Okay. So we're 2 for 2.
You set me up again for my third one. They're just blending right together.
Okay.
My last point here is don't believe everything you hear, specifically to mean that, yes, not only song lyrics, but TV shows and movies oftentimes use imperfect or incorrect grammar as well. And so you can't always think that that's exactly how something should be said, just because you heard it in a song or saw it on TV. So for example, right now I'm actually rewatching Buffy, the Vampire Slayer. I'm a very, very open Buffy fan. And as I was watching Buffy just today, I realized how they speak on that show isn't really like most people speak English, especially the writers of that show and the characters on that show sort of have their own way of speaking that isn't typical at all.
That's really true.
Yeah, so if you're a learner watching that show or watching other shows too, you might think that that's how people speak English and hearing vocabulary that you've never heard before, but it's just made up for the show. It's only used on the show.
So that's a key point then. So
Yeah.
maybe if you're going to watch TV or you're going to watch movies to try and study English, maybe like science fiction or fantasy or like historical movies aren't necessarily the best. Well, maybe historical movies to some extent, but
Sure.
maybe it's good to pick like a modern or a more contemporary thing to study from. Like I know Friends is a really popular
That's
TV
true.
show. That's a comedy. A lot of people like to use that. So that is a good point too, I think. Okay, we actually differed finally on that. I had something totally different. This is something that I actually did when I was studying, which was translate songs you enjoy, or at least try to translate songs that you enjoy. Because a song is usually maybe 3 minutes, 4 minutes long, and there probably aren't going to be words that entire time, and there's going to be some repetition of those words. So if you can identify, if you can find a song that you like, an artist that you like, and maybe there's something that's just, you just love this particular track or whatever it is, if you try to translate that, even if it's not a correct translation, you can still be learning those words, and you can still be studying how those words fit together and how maybe you can understand those words in other situations. So maybe a word that you've translated in song A, you might hear again in song B, maybe by the same artist or a different artist. So because you took the time to try to translate it, or at least have an idea of what it might mean, you can identify it in a different context, in a different situation. So this is something that I actually did.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah. And it was fun, too.
Good. Yeah, I think anytime you hear a new word or anytime you hear a language that you're studying, you're doing that so that you can use that language in the future in other contexts. And so that's a really good first step to doing that, taking what you've learned, trying to translate it, and using it in other ways.
I think so. Okay. That's all I have. Do you have anything else?
That's all I have for now.
Okay, and if you have any other ways that you like to use music, movies, TV shows, other kinds of media to study English or to study another language, please let us know in the comments. All right, thanks very much, Davey, for joining us.
You're very welcome.
And thank you all very much for watching. If you liked this video, please be sure to like this video, hit the like button on this video, and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. And if you're looking for more detailed lesson information, such as the stuff we talked about today, you can check us out at EnglishClass101.com. Thanks very much for joining us for this episode of English Topics, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.